Hi guys, happy Friday. I am here in my living room and I am so excited to get to talk to you today about eating for fat loss versus eating healthy, because this is something that I love to talk about, because I hear a lot of people say, oh, I'm eating healthy, I'm doing, the right things, but they're not seeing the results that they're looking for. And we're all in this crazy quarantine right now and we're all at home. And so I just wanted to give everyone some quick tips, advice, things that I follow. And I know for me personally, this is going to help me, because I know when I'm learning something, I'm always better at actually doing it. So I love learning, because learning is so amazing. So if you're on here, give me a high five, give me a wave, because I can't see who's on here. So let me know who's on here so I can just see, and we can dialogue back and forth. So if you guys have questions as I go along, I'd love to answer those. If you watch the replay, and you can put hashtag replay in the comments, and then I can answer any questions for you there too. So anyways, let's get started. So first thing I want to say is I am not a doctor and I'm not a nutritionist. So if you have any special needs, please feel free to talk to your doctor about those, because I am not a doctor. I'm also not a nutritionist. I am a personal trainer of the last 10 years. And so I have knowledge from working with clients, from my own personal experience. But again, I'm not a doctor, I'm not a nutritionist. This is just some basic nutrition knowledge that I have found to be super helpful in losing body fat, okay? So the first thing, I have my little man here with us today, so if he's a little fussy, this is mom life. I'm 6 weeks postpartum, and so I'm actually super excited about this, because this is helping me just kind of refocus my brain into how to eat for fat loss and lose the baby weight as well. Okay, so first thing I want to talk about is, who knows how much this, or what this is? Does anybody know what this is? If you do, post it in the comments. If not, I'm going to tell you here. So this is 1 pound of fat, okay? So this is representing 1 pound of fat, which is crazy, because put this on your stomach, put this on your back. So if you've ever felt like, oh my gosh, I only just lost 1 pound, here it is, okay? So this is actually a lot. This is like a lot. So be excited when you lose 1 pound. But this is also represented, so fat is represented in terms of, it is represented in calories, because calories is what represents energy. So 1 pound of fat is 3,500 calories, okay? So in order for us to lose 1 pound of fat, we have to have a 3,500 calorie deficit. So what that means is we either have to exercise 3,500 calories more, or we have to eat 3,500 calories less, which that's a lot, right? So I recommend, so a lot of times people tell me, oh, well, I lost a pound in a day and I went up and down and up and down. So it's really hard to gain a pound of fat in one day. So one recommendation, just real quick, is don't weigh yourself every single day, because your weight will fluctuate. Some of that's going to be water, some of that's going to be needing to eliminate waste. So really, honestly, if you want to lose if you're trying to track how much fat you're losing, weigh yourself once a week, maybe once every 2 weeks. If you have the luxury of having the opportunity to use an in-body scanner or a body fat scanner, that's way better, because it's going to give you true representation of what's happening in your body. But I digress. Okay, so how are we going to lose 3,500 calories a week to lose a pound of fat? Or 7,000 calories if you're going to lose 2 pounds a week, which is 2 pounds a week is doable. But if you're starting to lose more than that in a week, it's probably not all fat. Okay, so our goal again is we're trying to lose body fat. So I want to talk a little bit about our macronutrients and micronutrients, because that's really what this is going to be about, is about balancing our macronutrients so that we can start losing body fat. So if you are watching, and can you tell me in the comments if you know so we have got three basic macronutrients. So our 3 basic macronutrients are carbs, proteins, and fats, okay? So what do carbs do for us? I mean, we all love carbs, right? We all love carbs. They're usually yummy, but they also help us with that quick energy, okay? So oftentimes we are looking for quick energy when we are grabbing those carbs in the pantry. So I like to say we get this pantry hand, you know, like at 3 o'clock in the afternoon or at 8 p.m. That's totally my time when I get it. It's pantry hand. It was where I want to eat everything in the pantry. And usually that's because we're looking for energy, okay? So a lot of times it doesn't necessarily mean that we're totally hungry. A lot of times it's just that we need that extra boost of energy. Okay, so carbohydrates. Those are for quick energy. They help us not to feel tired. They help us, so that's basically what carbohydrates do. What do proteins do? So protein is the main thing that helps you build muscle. It also helps you feel more full. So that's what protein does for our bodies. And then what do fats do? So fats are pretty amazing. Fats help us feel full. And fats also help control our hormones and help control our body temperature, okay? So fats are important as well. So we got our proteins, our carbs, and fats. And then we have so those are our macronutrients. And then we have our micronutrients, which micronutrients are vitamins, minerals. So I like to say that we have our body's like Swiss cheese. And so just pretend this is like our body. And then we have these, so these are all the macronutrients coming in, and then we fill in the gaps with those vitamins and minerals, okay? So I do recommend for everyone to be taking a multivitamin. That is like one of my key things in life. You wanna take a multivitamin, just fill in those nutritional gaps. That'll help you when you get some of that pantry hand late in the afternoon. So if you're not filling in those micronutrients, your body might be starting to feel more hungry. And so, okay, so those are our main kind of things that we're talking about: proteins, carbs, fats. Then let's talk a little bit about nutrition timing. So I know a lot of people out there are into intermittent fasting. A lot of people are doing keto and lots of different diets. The thing I'm talking about today is not any of that. So I am talking about how you can eat all the foods that you want. There's no restrictions. And I'm talking about, because that they all fit into one of these categories, these protein, carbs, and fats. But we're going to figure out how to balance protein, carbs, and fats, okay? And then I'm going to talk a little bit about nutrition timing. So I have this little guy here, 6 weeks postpartum. He eats every 2.5 to 3 hours. You know why he eats every 2.5 to 3 hours? He eats every 2.5 to 3 hours because he uses the energy that I give him. So I give him milk, I give him food, and then he uses it to sustain his body, and then he needs more milk. And so that's also what happens with our bodies. Is we use the fuel, we intake fuel, and then we need to use it. So what happens is if we go too long without eating, our body is actually going to shut down. So what happens, so I'm going to use this little example. So here is my day, okay? So let's just say, for example, okay, it might be hard to see, but here's like, you know, you can see up here, this is 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, noon. Okay, so this is going to represent hours of the day. Okay, so some people, you wake up at 6. Maybe you're not doing that right now because we're all in quarantine. Maybe you're waking up later. But if you're waking up at 6, or maybe you're like me and you're waking up 6 times a night. But so say you wake up at 6 and you then decide, oh, I'm not super hungry. I'm going to eat my first meal around 9, okay? And then you're like, okay, well, I got busy with my kids. I'm homeschooling, and maybe my kids need to eat something around 2, so I have something around 2. And then, oh my gosh, it's dinner time. I'm super hungry, and I'm going to snack before dinner because I'm so hungry. I'm going to eat those crackers because I want them. And then all of a sudden, you're like, okay, now I'm going to have dinner. And then you're like, I'm missing one of my clips, but you're going to have another meal down here. And this is what I like to call my sinking ship. So when you're eating all of your meals at the end of the day, and all of a sudden your metabolism is slowing down, so you're not actually using all this energy. So what we really want to see is if you start eating, if you wake up at 6, you want to eat something within that first hour, so by 7, and then you want to have something again 2.5 hours later. And I don't know what happened in my other clip. I had 5 of these, but my daughter might have taken one. So, and then you want to have something, you know, maybe around noon, 12:30. Then we'd have another something in the afternoon. So one of my favorite tips is you want to eat 4 times by 4 p.m. That's super easy to remember, and I think it's really, really helpful. So if you haven't eaten 4 times by 4 p.m., your body, you're going to need to have more fuel throughout the day, okay? So then we'd have another meal here. So you're eating 5 times throughout the day. which is really important to keep your metabolism going. I get a lot of people who tell me, well, I'm not hungry. And I say, well, that's probably because your metabolism is not working for you. So when your metabolism is not working for you, you're not necessarily going to feel hunger. So when you start eating this way, you're going to start being hungry every single time. Just like my baby boy, he is hungry every 2.5 to 3 hours because his metabolism is working fast to use the energy that he was given. Okay, so the next thing we're going to talk a little bit about is portion size. So I want to talk a little bit about what proteins, carbs, and fats are, and I'm going to move us just for a second so you guys can see what I'm talking about. But I have here on my table, and I hope you can see this, but here are all my carbs, okay? So if you notice, and then here's all my proteins in this little section, and then here's all my fats right over here. So I used to do these workshops at my house, and I loved it because you guys got to actually like sort the food and go through it and see what different things are. But if you look at all this, what is the primary source of our food? The primary source of our food is carbs. Carbs is like the primary, like we have all these foods are carbs. So carbs are anything that's not proteins or fats. So proteins are going to be your meats, and it's going to be the primary protein source, okay? So there are some other things that aren't proteins, but the primary protein source is meat and eggs is going to be most of your proteins. And then your fats are going to be your nuts and your avocados and your butters and your mayonnaise and your dressings, but everything else pretty much is predominantly carbs, okay? So when you look at this, we've got, fruits, vegetables, we've got bread, we've got, bread's something you normally think of as a carb, but we don't always necessarily think about broccoli as a carb. So there's all these different carbs, okay? So we're gonna talk a little bit about so we've already talked about how we're gonna eat 5 to 6 times a day. And so now I want to talk a little bit about what does that portion size look like. And again, this is for losing body fat, okay? So this is what we're going to be doing to lose body fat, is we're going to be eating 5 to 6 times a day, and we're going to be eating a certain portion size of each of these things, because you have to have carbs. Carbs give us energy. When you don't eat carbs, you get cranky. I get cranky. You probably get cranky. I don't know. So we're going to talk a little bit about portion size. So when I pick up all of these carbs on this table so if you look at these carbs on this table, all of these carbs represent 15 grams of carbs, okay? So I want to show you what that looks like. So if I take 15 grams of carbs of corn, what does that look like? It's roughly about the size of my palm and thickness of my palm. Same thing when I pick up this pasta, which you can't believe that this pasta is like our portion size of pasta, but here it is. There it is. It's about roughly the size of the thickness and the size of the palm of your hand. And this works really well for everybody because my husband has a little bit bigger hands than I do, and so his portion size can be a little bit bigger. My daughter obviously has smaller hands, so her portion size is a little smaller. So using your palm size is a really good representation of roughly about the amount of carbs that your body needs. And I love using this because it's really helpful, okay? So here is if you take nothing else away from this live, this is the only thing that you need. So the key to eating carbs but not gaining body fat and helping you lose body fat is not eating more than 30 carbs at a time. So that's 2 palm sizes. So the goal is, we're eating 5 times a day, and you're not going to eat more than 2 palm sizes at one time, okay? So if you guys can raise your hands with me right now, wherever you're at, raise your hands. Give me a high five in the comments, give me a wave in the comments, whatever, raise your hands. If you're holding up your palm size, but how many carbs are we going to have? 30 carbs, okay? So you can post that in the comments, but 30 carbs at one setting is the goal. We don't want to go over that, or 2 palm sizes. Again, it can be a variant a little bit based on your body size. If you're a really big person, you might need a little bit more. If you're really small, you might need a little bit less, but it's based on your palm size, okay? So some things that I have on my table that you don't necessarily notice is so my banana, for instance. My banana is half a banana, because half a banana, if I were to eat a whole banana, it would actually be 2 palm sizes, okay? Also, a thing that people often don't realize is milk is a carb. It has protein in it, but it has more carbs than it does protein. And so what I see a lot for eating healthy is like somebody might eat breakfast and you might say, okay, I'm going to eat healthy, okay? So I'm going to have my oatmeal, then I'm going to have my blueberries, and then I'm going to have some milk on top of that, and then maybe I'll add some raisins, I don't know where my raisins are right now, into my oatmeal, and I think I want to have a banana too. Okay, so if you see right here, now you've just eaten, what is this, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 carbs for breakfast. And you're eating healthy. It feels like you're eating healthy, but you're eating so many carbs that your body is just gonna store those as fat, okay? So remember, we wanna only have 30 grams of carbs, so 2 palm sizes of carbs for a meal. The one caveat to this is going to be our green non-starchy vegetables. Okay, so our green, actually peas are starchy. So green non-starchy or just non-starchies in general are what I consider quote unquote free. I've never seen someone binge on broccoli. These carbs, they have a lot of fiber in them, so I don't necessarily count them as one of your 30 carbs. So you can have, and we'll go through how I'm going to plate this on a meal in just a little bit, but this is our carb section. So if anybody has questions, post them in the comments and I'll try to answer them as we go along. You can post them in the comments later. I'll answer them later too, but if you have questions, please ask them. Okay, so we're moving along to our proteins. So our proteins are next, okay? So if you guys can see, I hope you can see, there's our protein section. And with our protein section, I like to call these are going to be 20 grams, okay? So this is a little confusing because we go from 15 to 20, but 20 grams of protein, okay? So you want to have 20 grams of protein at every meal or snack, okay? So again, we started talking about earlier about the eating every couple of hours, eating every 2.5 to 3 hours. So with your protein, you want to have it's about the same. So 20 grams is about the same. It's about the same thickness of your palm size. Again, this is, our chicken breast is about the same density and thickness of our palm, and it's about the same as our palm size. This is 20 grams of protein. So I know that my chicken breasts from Costco are not like this, okay? So this is what 20 grams looks like. This is what 20 grams looks like. It's about the same size as the palm of your hand. This is what 20 grams of turkey looks like, okay? Our egg also has protein in it, but the protein in your egg is actually mostly, there is some in the yolk, but it's mostly in the egg white. So you need 3 egg whites to make 20 grams of protein. The yolk has more fat in it, but the white is where you get the protein. Okay, so we're gonna move on to fats. So with these, you want to make sure that you're trying to get, one protein choice at each meal, okay? Or snack. So if you're eating 5 times a day, you're having 20 grams of protein at breakfast, lunch, or snack, lunch, snack, and then dinner, okay? Okay, we're going to move on to our fats. So our fats are, where are they? I think you can see them, but they're right here. These are all of our fats, and these fats are things like nuts, butter. This is our guacamole. So what our fats are is going to be 2 thumb sizes. So 2 thumb sizes equals 15 grams. So we're going to 15 grams. So we go 15 grams for carbs, 20 grams for protein, and 15 grams for fats. And our fats are going to be 2 thumb sizes, okay? So 2 thumb sizes. So if you're doing oils, so here's oil, it's a tablespoon, 2 thumb sizes. That's going to be about 15 grams of fat, okay? So I have this awesome little worksheet that I'm actually going to post in the comments. If anybody wants this, you can print it out, but it'll tell you all the things that I've just been talking about. What's a protein, what's a carb, what's a fat. but it's really, really helpful when you have this little sheet so you kind of understand what's a protein, what's a carb, what's a fat, how can I balance this throughout the week? And why this is so important is, again, going back to why we're talking about this. It's eating for fat loss versus eating healthy. So the goal that we want is to be losing this. So you've heard some people say in the past maybe that they're losing inches, but they're not losing weight because they're losing this fat off their body because they're changing their body composition. So that's really what we're going for here, is helping you lose this off your body. And this is, again, 1 pound of fat. It's kind of a lot. Okay, so I'm going to go through and talk about how to plate this and what this looks like for a day, okay? So what does this look like for us as we're trying to go throughout our day? You know, how do I know? What does this mean? So we're going to come back over here just for a second. Gotta move my little guy so we can see here. I'm going to, oops. Hi guys, here we are. Let me know you're watching. Let me know if this is making sense for you, and if anything I'm saying isn't making sense, please put a note in the comments, and I would love to answer any questions that anybody has, okay? So I've got 5 plates here. I think you can see them. And we're gonna go ahead and plate some food. So for men and women, so if you are a woman and you're trying to lose weight, you're gonna shoot for 8 carb choices, 4 to 5 protein choices, and 3 fat choices, okay? If you are trying to maintain weight and you're a woman, you're going to shoot, and you're exercising, so if you're working out and you're exercising and you're a woman, you're gonna probably, you're gonna shoot for 10 carb choices. And again, these are all rough estimates based on like the general population, but you're gonna shoot for 10 carb choices if you're working out. You're gonna shoot for 5 to 6 protein choices, and then you're gonna shoot for 3 fat choices. So that's for women. For men, if you're trying to lose weight, you're gonna shoot for 10 carb choices. You're gonna shoot for 5 to 6 protein choices, and you're gonna shoot for 4 fat choices. And then if you're trying to lose weight, or if you're trying to maintain and you're exercising, it's 12 carb choices, it's 5 to 6 protein choices, and 4 fat choices, okay? So I'm gonna go ahead and plate what looks like 10 carb choices, because it's kind of in the middle for everybody, so you can see what 10 carbs looks like. So I'm just gonna grab some carbs. So we'll make a breakfast. We're gonna have our oatmeal and our blueberries for our carbs. We're gonna have a snack choice, which is gonna be, maybe we'll have our banana or half a banana for our snack, and some grapes. And then I'm gonna do a lunch here. So we'll have some corn. I know I don't make corn for lunch, but we're gonna just pretend. And then we're gonna have a mashed potato and some broccoli, because broccoli is free. Because we can have as much broccoli or green vegetables as we want, or non-starchy. And if you don't know what non-starchies are, you can go ahead and Google non-starchy vegetables and a bunch of things will come up. Okay, and then we're gonna grab, so we're gonna have another snack. Maybe we'll have an orange and a piece of toast. And then for dinner, we're gonna have our peas and, oh, actually for snack, we're gonna have these chips because those look good. And then we're gonna have our pasta, and then maybe we'll have some asparagus because we can have extra starchy vegetables. And then, so this is what 10 carbs looks like. So if you can see, 10 carbs is actually quite a bit of food, but it's spread out throughout the day. So if you can see, that's actually quite a bit of food. And then we're gonna go and we're going to grab some proteins, okay? So maybe for breakfast, we'll add a protein, we'll add an egg, and then for a snack, we're gonna have some turkey. For lunch, we'll have some salmon. For another snack, we'll have some chicken. This is just for an example. And then we're gonna have a beef patty. Okay, so that's our proteins. And then we're gonna add some fat on here. So we're gonna have some avocado and some cheese and maybe some butter on my pasta. Okay, so if you look at this, it's actually quite a bit of food, but it's just balancing it throughout your day. And so you can see, so for me, I, don't always have, and I don't always have all the time in the world to do all of this meal prep, which, right now we kind of have a lot of time, but because we're all in quarantine. But if you don't, Then some things that I like to do is I drink these Orgain protein shakes. And then this is one carb choice and one protein. So again, with process or packaged things, you want to look at the carbs and then you want to look at the protein. So this one has 20 grams of protein and then it has 9 grams of carbs. So it's not like a full 15 grams of carbs, but you know, it's not just, it doesn't have 0 carbs. So I consider this like a 1 protein and a 1 carb. So I might put this in one of my snacks instead of a meal. So that's a way you can use some other things to just have your snacks and your meals. Another thing I look at is when I'm buying processed things, like I look at this Dave's Killer Bread. So when you look at the Dave's Killer Bread, it's got 13 grams of carbs. So I know I can have a sandwich with it because if I have a sandwich with this Dave's Killer Bread, the small bread, it's only going to be 26 grams of carbs. So these are things that can just, you got to start, if you start going to the store and looking at different stuff, you'll start to see, you know, what things have what in it. And then you'll start to realize, oh yeah, this is great. So for me, when I'm doing this too, personally, I love to have my Smart Coffee. This is amazing. I have this in the morning time. So I put my Smart Coffee in the morning, gives me a little boost of energy. And then also, so I don't get that pantry hand in the afternoon, I have this Go drink. And this Go drink is just amazing. It just is like mental focus, amazingness. And so I put that in my afternoon. So this is kind of how I played out my day when I'm trying to really hone in on, I hope you can see that, what this all looks like. I also add in a couple things. So one thing that I add in is this trim product and this trim product. So as I was talking about earlier about how you lose body fat, so this actually has something in it called CLA, which helps block fat storage. And it also has this amazing type 2 collagen that helps you build muscle. So this is what I like. If you're doing all of this, I would call this an accelerator for your results. So I took this back in June before I was pregnant with this guy, and I actually lost 4 pounds of fat, and it was actual fat in 2 weeks. And that was honestly because I feel like this accelerated my results. I feel like if I had done that without this, I probably only would have lost like 1 pound of fat each week, because I was eating healthy. I was doing this. I was doing what I'm talking about with the food. But then I added this and it was just an accelerator for my results. I also added in this awesome collagen as well. So this is more of that collagen just to help me build muscle, because muscle equals metabolism. So the more muscle we have in our body, it increases our metabolism. So we can burn that 3,500 calories that it takes to burn a pound of fat, okay? So when we eat this way, we're gonna start to see our bodies transforming. I also mentioned earlier, I love taking a multivitamin. It's going to fill in those nutritional gaps. So that's something I'm going to do every single day. As well as I take fish oils to help get rid of the bad fats, add in the good fats, and probiotics. And probiotics are really helpful for your gut flora. And especially with what we have going on right now, 80% of your body's immunity starts in your gut because everything passes through there. And so doing a probiotic can really help with that as well. So you guys, this is it. So this is how we eat for fat loss versus eating healthy. So if you take nothing away from this, the one thing I want you to take away from this is how many carbs, somebody type in the comments, how many carbs we're supposed to eat at each setting. Is it 2 palm sizes? So 2 palm sizes of carbs in each setting is our goal, okay? And again, if you guys have questions about any of this, feel free to answer anything for you. I just love teaching, and I know for me, when I'm learning, I'm just better at all this myself. So the other thing that I forgot to mention is I love the way this is, because if you notice in my carbs, I still have things like cookies, and I still have things like a brownie, and I still have these things that you can just put in as one of your carb choices for the day. So there is absolutely zero restriction on what you can eat. You just have to kind of balance it with what else you're eating for the day. That is one of my keys to success, because when we start to feel like we're being deprived, we are not as good at staying with anything. I know, like, I went on a diet years ago, and I have never wanted to eat Dairy Queen as much in my life. I was like, if you tell me I can't have it, I want to eat it. So with this, I'm not telling you can't eat anything. You can eat everything. You can eat anything on anything in the world. Just balancing it with the portion size and figuring out what that looks like. So anyways, happy Friday. Please let me know if you have questions. I'm here to help. I love teaching people and learning this. So happy Friday.